All right, guys, what's going on? Bring you back. We're going to start the next video here. Still waiting on clips for the back window, and then we'll get that finished up and get the rear window put back in this car. But I'll show you what I'm working on today, and this is going to be a bench build, and I'll kindly talk you through it. Some of the little bit of work footage I may have to fast forward through, but I'll try to explain to the best of my ability on this, on what we're doing. And if you have any questions, hit me up in the comments when we finish this video up. So I'll show you what we got today, guys. This here is a factory TriFive Chevy steering box, non-power steering. I brought this steering rod up with me to kind of give you a gist of what it looks like. If it was mounted, this would be your steering bar coming up through the car, steering wheel connected up there. It's already been cut off there, just for the time being. This is a shaft out of a TriFive box, and I'll get back to that here shortly and show you what we're going to do with that. This is a 605 Chevy power steering box. I'll show you the number here. So these boxes was used from 1978 to 88 on Monte Carlos, El Caminos, you know, cars like that. It was a factory power steering box. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be converting a TriFive Chevy non-power steering box to build ourselves a power steering box that bolts directly on a TriFive Chevy. So what I'm going to do, I'll set you up on laps and I'll try to explain this to the best of my ability. Like I said, guys, if you have any questions, don't be scared to hit me up and I'll walk you through it. All right, guys, I'll bring you back in just a second. All right, guys, here we go. So this box is kind of, I cheated a little bit, and I'll show you what I'm talking about when we get to it. But you can see this sleeve is loose. This is all factory to the box. I had this one ready to go. But the first thing we're going to do, if this box wasn't cut, we're going to get this long shaft out. To do that, take your 3 bolts out of your cap with your pitman arm off, obviously. Once you do that, where your steering shaft was, you can turn it a little bit back and forth. And what this thing has is 5 gears originally on these shafts. So if you turn your steering shaft, just keep turning it and you'll eventually get it lined up to where that comes straight out. And it pulls out like so. So we're going to pull the long shaft out. Now once the long shaft's out, this is what I've talked about. This box was already started a little bit. This would be made onto this box as one casting. What you want to do, from the bottom of this, where my thumb is, measure up 4.5 inches and go ahead and cut this piece off, because you're going to need it to go on the new box. Once you get that piece off, you can discard the TriFive box. We're not going to need it anymore. We're going to lay this to the side for a second. We'll go back to our shaft. We're going to want to get this cap off. So these are backwards threads. And this cap screws in through this. I've got to run mine back down a little bit to get the nut off. You know, that's how your adjustment is with these boxes. So we'll get that nut off. Then we're going to want to, this type takes a flathead screwdriver. Okay guys, bring you back. I had to pause it just a second. So what I had, there was a little bit of thread boogered on this. After a little bit of work, I've got it broke free. So what you do, you just run that bolt on through there till your cap comes off. We won't need that no more. Then the way these work, they just slide out. Okay, so we'll save that. We're probably going to be using a new one in the new box, but we'll set that over there for now. All right, we've still got all this old grease on here and all that good stuff. So earlier in this video, I showed you a shaft that I had that's no good. And I told you I'd bring it back to you. This is the one I just pulled out of the box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is one that's been cut down before. So what you have to do on these guys is cut the 2 outside teeth off to make it 3, because you're going to need 3 to go in this new box. And then, if you can see this, hopefully, you're going to grind this down, the top of it, till it's about an 1/8 inch thick right here. All right. So what we're going to do before we tear down the new box, we're going to go ahead and cut the 2 teeth off this, off the outside. So we're going to get a little more grease off of it and then cut it. We're not going to break down the new box just yet until I get this cut down, because I don't want any metal shavings or anything like that going in the new box. Epic fail on that. Rubber gloves don't work under them. Trying to do this in camera angle, guys, and it's a little bit hard. So we've got it cut down to 3. You know, you don't have to go all the way down to where the shaft starts. Just go down to where that lip is on there. It's deep enough on them, okay? Now on this, the top, we're just gonna put a 4-inch grinding pad on there, and we're going to take that down some to about an 1/8 inch. So it looks like this one. So that's what we're going to do next. When I was cutting them tabs off, I just caught my shirt on fire. But you know, it's all part of the progress. All right, guys, we've got that filed down pretty close. We may have to hit a little bit more here in just a second. So, up to this point of what we've got going on. Also, guys, remember, before you go back together with anything, make sure, clean it real good, because you are cutting and grinding. You don't want them burrs in the steering box when we go back together, okay? So what we've got so far, we've took the long shaft out of the factory 57 or TriFive steering box. You've measured up 4.5 inches, cut this piece off. We'll be using that with the new box. All right. These do have a brass sleeve in them that's at the bottom. It only goes about that far up. You're going to want to pull this sleeve out, move it up to the top side of this. So then that way when it goes back together, so what we're essentially going to do with this box, make sure you guys can see this.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah.
But see all of these?
Hold on just a second, bub. These, this shaft's going to go in this box. This piece will slide on to meet that box, and then that gives you your factory mounting hose on your TriFive Chevy. So that's what we're going to be shooting for in the long run with this. So once you've got it tore down, your old box tore down, I'm gonna bring you back on this box. We're gonna tear it apart, pull this short shaft out. Then we'll be installing the long shaft in this box, in the 605 power steering box. So I'll bring you back here in just a few minutes, guys. All right, guys, I showed you where we left off. Now we're gonna start disassembling this 605 box. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but I've got a little twist nail here. And there's a little hole right there in these boxes. There's a snap ring, and it's a good one. That's what the hole is actually for, is to get the snap ring out. So you're gonna find you a nail that fits in there pretty good. Take you a little hammer, peck it in there. It's gonna raise the snap ring up. Now we're gonna take a screwdriver, maybe. Keep your nail in there, that way you don't lose your bite if for some reason your screwdriver slips. May take a couple screwdrivers. Keep working around there till you get that huge thing out of there. Take it out, lay it to the side for a minute. We're going to take and loosen the nut up. And remember, these are backwards threads. So we'll take and loosen it up. And as you take and adjust this longer with the snap ring out, it's going to push this lid out. So at that point, you can go ahead and take your nut all the way off. Save it, you'll need it later. Go ahead and keep going to the left, and you're going to push the lid right out of this thing. Once your lid comes loose, remove the lid. Save it. You won't need it. So before I pull this one apart, show you why we cut the ears off the TriFive Chevy box. As you can see down in here, this short shaft, it only has 3. So that's why we had to cut it down. Gear oil. Retainer ring. That goes under the lid. All right, guys, battery went dead on the camera. So I think where I left off there just a second ago, we just had removed the cap. So what I was saying earlier, you know, they made these from 78 to 88, and only 78, 79 was standard threads. So this is the one that come out of our long shaft, and they hook in there like that thread up through the cap. You know, this is a remanufactured box, metric threads. So we're going back in with the long shaft, which will be like that. We got to have that metric one coming through this metric cap. Reason we grind these down, I failed to say that earlier, is so the cap will go all the way down on these new style boxes. So to get these out, you can see this bolt is in a larger sleeve. Right here is bent over to keep it from backing out. Right here is bent over to keep it from backing out. So what we're going to do, we're going to bend them back straight, and then we're probably going to have to take this screwdriver to screw the big part out. And then what that will do, that will release this bolt out for this cap. So now we're going to see what we can come up with here, guys. Just had showed you the 3-prong. They come out the same way. You know, work this side, pair of pliers, and then it's ready to come out. So we'll go ahead and take it out. We'll work this piece on the bench. May need an extra hand, please. All right, ready? Perks of having no vise up here. You have an extra set of hands. All right, guys, bring you back here. We'll do a little recap of everything I've done with this steering box. Hopefully you can follow along and it makes sense to everybody. But like I said, if it don't hesitate to comment, email me at LovettSpeedShop@gmail.com, and you know, ask questions, and we'll go from there. So I'll show you what I got right here, guys. This is our finished product. 605 box. 4.5 inch piece. Cut off the factory TriFive Chevy box. We put the long shaft in. We cut off the 2 outside teeth on the long shaft. Make sure your boxes are centered before you go back in with your shaft. That way everything's in line and it's not out of time. If you're using factory steering column, you're going to measure down from the top of the threads where the steering wheel mounts, 31 3/4 of an inch. Cut it, and then that way we turn this box just a little bit. When you go to join these back up, you'll get a rag joint. Make sure your box is centered out. Rag joint goes on here. You'll weld the rag joint back onto your factory steering column. Okay. When you're going back on with this new power steering box, before I get that far, after you pull the long shaft out, 4.5 inches from the bottom of the box up, cut that sleeve off. This sleeve does not have to be welded back to this box, okay? So what you're gonna do, mount this sleeve back on the factory location on the frame. Then you're gonna drop the box down in to this sleeve. All right, I'm gonna flip the box over. You've got 3 mounting holes for your power steering box. You're gonna cut a triangle piece of steel, and if you want to, go ahead and shim it whatever you need it for the roundness of this box. Bolt it to your bottom 2 holes. You're not even going to have to worry about your top hole unless you just want it. I'll attach at the end of this video a picture. It's like 3 5/8 tall by about 6 inches long in a triangle. Okay, bolt this back to the frame, drop your box in with your triangle piece bolted to this already. It'll set on top of the frame. You'll tack it right where it sets, pull your box back out, weld your new bracket up, and then you're ready to bolt on. 31 3/4, excuse me. Rag joint, and then welded back onto your bar. 4.5 on this sleeve here, bolted back factory location. Cut you a triangle bracket. I usually use 1/4 inch flat stock, and you can use washers to shim it out or however you want to do it. Like I said, I'll attach a diagram at the end of this video. And then you have power steering for your TriFive Chevy, guys. So I hope this helps, guys. Little trick my dad taught me, and little trick I wanted to pass on to everybody out there and on YouTube and all that stuff. And I hope you guys like it. And till next time, like, subscribe, talk to me, guys. Leave me comments and all that good feedback. See you guys.